Hey Spirit Lifters, good day and I hope you're doing well. In this episode of Spirit Lift, I interview Anne from Nova Scotia. Anne is a numerologist, a well-known numerologist, and Anne can give such great insight into what numerology means in our day-to-day lives. We speak about what numerology is, we speak about what the year 2020 signifies, and she explains when you know your number, your life path number, how that can help you ease into the flow of your month to month, year to year, with how you live your life. So I hope you enjoy this video, and please remember to subscribe and share with your friends and family. Have a great day, Spirit Lifters. I wish you all the best. And welcome to Spirit Lift.
Thanks, Devin. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, thank you so much, Anna. I really appreciate your time and being on this episode, and I'm really excited to speak to you today. Just to start, Anne, for our Spirit Lifters, can you please explain from your perspective, what is numerology and how can it help us best understand ourselves?
Wow, what is numerology? Okay, so the best way that I can explain it is that when someone comes to me for a reading, the first thing I'm going to say to them is that numerologists believe that we've all had previous lifetimes. And with every lifetime, we bring back with us a new soul's contract. And so within that soul's contract exist all of the lessons that you have chosen to learn in this lifetime. So prior to your incarnation, you would have sat down with a group of spirit guides. Now, these are guides who know you really well. They know what you know, they know what you don't know, they know what you've agreed to learn, they know when you're avoiding learning it. Okay, and so these are guys that are very aware of what you're here for, and they're the ones that kind of keep you on the straight and narrow. So you may have had a discussion with them that might have sounded something like this. You might have given a lot of consideration to your previous lifetime. You might have said, hey, you know, I get it. I wasn't very patient in my previous lifetime. So I'm going to bring some 2 energy into my birth code this time, because that will invite lessons around patience and diplomacy. I wasn't very organized last time. I want to be a better planner this time around. So some 4 energy would help. And this time around, I don't want to be quite so religious. I'd prefer to be maybe a little bit more spiritual. So some 7 energy would be good. So all of the numbers from 1 to 9 hold a vibration that can be decoded, if you will. And each one of those numbers, it has a predictable characteristic or outcome around it. So numerology was discovered for its code by a Greek mathematician named Pythagoras about 2,500 years ago. There's different theories, like there's different types of numerology. I happen to practice Pythagorean numerology, but there's other methods as well. But basically that's it. It's looking at the numbers that you've chosen to place into your date of birth. It's looking at the numbers that we assigned to the letters in your full birth name, which tell me what your talents are, your gifts are, what you're passionate about. Your date of birth will tell me what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what lessons you've agreed to learn, and what the heck you're here for.
Well, and that's a big issue, and I don't mean to interrupt you, or interject, but what I think interests a lot of people is that they feel so lost in life. You know, a lot of people just, it's interesting when you say that we were assisted with spirit guides before coming into this world to understand what we should learn and what our purpose should be. But I mean, I just feel like so many people feel lost all the time with the purpose of their life. So how can we find our way, and how can numerology help us get us there?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's exactly the reason why I got into numerology in the first place. Mm-hmm. So back in 2003, I went through what I call my dark time. I'd never gone through a dark time before, but it was a really dark place, and I felt very stuck. I felt completely directionless. I didn't want to be in my marriage anymore. I wanted to leave my business. I didn't know what I wanted. I just knew what I didn't want. And I was really, really unhappy. But I came out of it. About a year later, I came out of it. And once I discovered numerology, the first thing I wanted to do was to go back and examine that dark period in my life. What the heck was that all about? And once I understood numerology and I looked at my chart, I went, oh my gosh, there it is. It was like a big red flag on my chart that showed me that on my birthday of 2003, I was going to go into a bit of a rocky patch. But it also showed me on my birthday of the following year that I would come out of it. And that's exactly what happened. And had I known that, had I been prepared, had I been told, yeah, you're going to go through a sketchy time, but it's going to go from here to here, I could have gone through it so much easier, Devin. But I didn't, because I didn't know there was any end in sight. I thought, I'm in a dark hole, I'm never going to get out of this. I don't see any hope, right? But when you look at a chart, we can read it and we can see it and we can see the benefit behind knowing, when these challenging times are going to happen and how can we best go through them. I mean, I was in what they call a karmic debt essence. And those
what does that mean?
It's an essence comes from your name on your birth certificate. And it starts on your birthday, and it typically ends the day before your next birthday, or it can continue up to 9 years. Whereas every January, we all go into a new personal year. So there's a theme attached to each personal year that we need to understand if we're going to get the best out of it. So for example, if you were in a one personal year, you'd want to know that because you only see a one personal year once in a 9-year cycle. And that's all about new beginnings. You don't want to miss that year because you have to wait another, 9 years to get another one. Not to say that you can't have a new beginning any other year. It's just that, I don't know, I'd prefer to have a new beginning in a year where it's going to be easy, swim with the tide rather than against it, right?
Right.
So the essence is that comes from your birth name tells me how is Devin going to go through that personal year differently than I am? Because his name on his birth certificate is very different than mine. So even though you and I might be in a one personal year at the same time, we're both going to experience very differently.
I hate to put you on the spot, Ann. Could we do an example for the spirit lifters, like with see how in sync me and my wife are right now? Or would you?
I could have done that had I had a bit of.
No, I know.
I'd need some time to calculate.
No, to prepare it. No, that's fine.
Yeah, those are easy calculations, but
yeah.
But I do have.
She's born December. I'm born in February. We're both born in.
Okay, well, we can look at that. Let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
So one of the criteria that we look at is the personal year that you're in. Okay, that's one of the easiest things to figure out. So we know that we are in a year of 2020. Okay. Yeah. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 equals 4. So we need that. That's a constant number. We need to know that it's a 4 universal year. Okay. So what month were you born in?
February.
Okay, so February is the second month. It's a single digit. We're going to leave it alone. And what day?
I'm a Valentine.
You're on the 14th. Yeah, I remember that. So 1 and 4 is 5. Okay. Yeah. So now to figure out what personal year you're in, we're going to add the universal year of 4 to your month, which is a 6, to the 5, which is an 11. Okay. So now we know that you are in a personal year of an 11/2. It's a 2 personal year with an 11 connotation to it. We'll talk about that in a minute. And now your wife, what month was she born?
December 20th, 84.
Okay, so December is the 12th month. We're going to add 1 and 2 together. So that comes to 3. The 20th, 2 plus 0 equals 2. So we're going to take the 4 for the universal year, add that to 3 for December. That comes to 7. And we're going to put... we're going to add that to the 2 for the day. Okay, so 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So you are in a 2 personal year. She's in a 9 personal year. So the 2 personal year is all about building relationships, and it's about you and your business partner creating this whole channel. It's about being patient. It's not as fast as what last year was. This is a year of steady process, one step after the other kind of thing. You're not feeling very social this year,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas next year, when you start moving into your year of 2, you'll feel more social again, okay? Now your wife is in a personal year of 9. That's a very different energy because the 9 is all about what do I need to release and let go of this year?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to understand that when she's taking everything out of your garage and throwing it out, you got to be cool with that. Right?
Yeah, right.
She's going to want to purge this year. She's going to want to release and let go of a lot of stuff, and it could include friends, right?
Sure.
It could include relationships. It could include the way she thinks about things, releasing limiting beliefs, releasing stuff. Everything needs to be looked at energetically in a 9 personal year.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in a very different place than you are. But when she starts shifting into the fall, she's going to start shifting into her 1 energy, which is a lot more energy. It's like, come on, let's do something new. Let's get up and go. And you will be coming out of your 2 energy, which is kind of low, not too social, moving into your 3, which says, yeah, let's do this. You know, you'll be a little bit more in sync energetically moving into the fall and into next year.
And I think I think this, Anne, is a very important point, like just exemplary point to make as a case study, just because and maybe you can reinforce maybe what I'm saying, or if I'm not saying it correctly, you can to completely throw it out. But if we understand these things and how numerology can help us get a better gauge on energy and how we're how it is really pulling us in certain ways and maybe helping us understand ourselves, we can better understand the people around us. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like we have to understand how to be compatible and better with other people, right?
Yeah, for example, I think that's a very good point, Devin, because for example, if let's say you're in a 1 personal year and your wife's in 7 personal year, well, the 1 is like one speed and it's on, right? It's get up and go, let's do it, let's make it happen. But the 7 personal year says, no, I don't even want you around right now. I'm in my cave. I want to get things better, right? You know?
Yeah.
And we all go there, right? We all go into our cave once every 9 years, and that's a 7 year, right? So the 7 says, I want to lay low. I want to find myself. I want to research things and such. But the 1 says, get up and go. So yeah, not the greatest of lineups, but when we understand it's just a cycle, it's not going to define whether this relationship is going to make it or not. We all go through
a cycle.
You know, yeah. It's a cycle, right? And if we understand our cycles, we can get through anything, you know?
I think that's a very important point you're making, because I think sometimes people think that everything is just predetermined, static, and just the way it is, and people never change for this or that reason, and that's just it. Like, we're screwed, for one thing or the other. But I think what you're saying is so imperative, because I think if and spirit lifters, just so you know, I've done a reading before with Anne, and she is excellent. It helped me understand so much about myself, so much about my life, the purpose I feel, that I should go in. And so I heavily recommend spirit lifters to, we'll put her Anne's info at the end of the video that you get a hold of her for reading. But I think after for example, I'm just talking from my personal experience, and like when I did a reading with you, I was like, wow. When she explained this and this about me, I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know you, like how are you saying all these things about me, and it kind of reinforced in a sense of who I was, and then sort of direction, because I felt lost, as you know, when I spoke with you. I was like, I don't know where I am, I don't know where I'm going, and what you showed me really helped to reinforce the path, so to speak, of my life. So what I want to ask in that sense is how, because sometimes when with what I see in numerology, maybe you can help reinforce this or say it in your own way, obviously, but once we know something, numerology, I can't say the word, sorry, related, how do we put it well into action? I think sometimes we have to act on it as well. It's like, okay, well, this is what the energy is showing you, but this is kind of who you are, according to these things. But how do we put certain things into action, better, I should say?
Well, it's a good point. We always have free will, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
I think the beauty of understanding your chart, and this is not to promote my reading at all, but I think one of the benefits you got, if I'm correct, is that I validated what you already know to be true about you. And what I was able to say is, hey, Devin, don't worry about being a little directionless right now. Don't worry about things being kind of slow and you have no idea where you're going, because this is a slow year for you, right? This is supposed to be a sit and wait and rest and restore, because the year before you were in a year of 1 and it was go, 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 and you put your best foot forward, and then all of a sudden this type A personality who wants to keep on with that same kind of momentum can't do it, because the universe goes, nope, sorry, get in your timeout chair, right? You've got to rest and restore. You have to nurture the relationships you started last year, and then we'll give you your energy back in the fall, but you have to play nice until then, right? So when we understand that, then we can take advantage of that. So for example, this year I'm in a year of 5. My year of 5, I get it. I'm scattered. I'm all over the place, right? My energy is everywhere. So I have to be careful with the decisions that I make. I have to think them through, It's about expansion. It's about experiencing things. It's about unexpected events. Didn't see that coming. Sure
Right.
didn't see COVID coming.
Yeah.
So
And I'd like to get into that in just a moment. Yeah.
yeah. So it's. I think that if you understand the cycles that you're in, you can best take advantage of what the universe is giving you. So if you're in a 1% year, you got to know that. If you're in a year of endings, you got to know that, right? If you're in a year that you're going to feel a little bit stuck, that's your choice to feel stuck. But it really is a year of building. The year of 4 is always going to be about 4 posts in the ground, but most people tend to waste it and feel stuck. So if you understand what the cycle is, you can capitalize on the benefits of the energy that's coming your way.
I think that's essential what you're saying, because I think, just to sort of form this in my own way of thinking, is like, if we are not, I see numerology in that way, like, okay, well, here's your guided path that you laid out for yourself and that you agreed before coming to this earth, and that, if you follow it throughout the months and the years and even the days throughout the course of your life can be very pleasant or very rough. So my point here is, like, if we don't understand these things, especially with the particular year we're in, with the month we're in, with our actual number that we are, etc. And if we don't understand that properly, we're going to be fighting against a lot of energies that we wouldn't otherwise want to have, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing too, Devin, is that we need to take ownership for what we chose to put into our soul's contract. Sure. And I know this isn't everybody's thing. And I get it that there's a lot of people that just cannot accept that we've had previous lifetimes and whatnot. And I'm not here to change the world. Like, that happens to be my belief system, but I'm totally okay if it's not theirs. But numerology does observe that we've had previous lifetimes. And the only reason that we would choose to evolve again is so that we can evolve better, and that we can do better, and we can make up, for example, I have a karmic debt for my life path number, which means not only have I agreed to come in as a 7 life path number, but I said, you know what, if I'm going to come in as a 7, I might as well kick some karma to the curb, because I'm guilty of some really bad behavior in a previous lifetime. So knowing that helps to explain why certain things are thrown in front of me, and gives me a better idea as to how I have to navigate those things. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's really important what you're saying, and because I remember after doing the reading with you, that once I understood the year I was in, how the particular month was, etc., and like that in certain circumstances I should have relaxed more, or I should have been more active more. When I really took heed to that, life was flowing a lot better.
Oh, absolutely. Because life never happens to us. It's always happening through us.
Through us, yeah.
It's happening through us. We get to choose how we respond to it, and that ultimately creates our reality. But nothing is happening to you. When you start thinking life is happening to you, then you become a victim, and you can't move from that.
Then life becomes a grind, right?
Right, exactly.
And why, and I mean, this is always a big question, but why in the world, I can understand life as being valuable for the scarcity aspect of it. Like, there is a limit for how long we are alive, life is precious because of death, right? I mean, we have to make the most of it while we can still breathe. So I understand that part, but apart from that, why do we decide to come back instead of because and I want to go into this particular year in just a moment, but sometimes life, I mean, this year, but we'll go into that in a second. Like, sometimes in general, life just seems just overwhelming. Why do we make that choice, do you think? I mean, because, and I say that for a certain reason, because I've spoken to other people who have had like an NDE or and they've seen another place, right? And it felt very real. So in my mind, there must be another place very sublime, So like, it's just like, sorry?
Yeah, they say being on Earth is actually the hell that we fear, right? We're already in it, right?
Yeah, but what can numerology tell us about why we come back, really?
Well, I mean, if you look at the life path or numbers from 1 to 9, 11s and 22s and 33s, each one of those numbers will tell us what lessons we've agreed to learn. And that usually gives us a little bit of an indication as to what we didn't get so well in a previous lifetime. So for example, for me, my life path number is a 7, but it's not just a 7, it's a 16-7, meaning it holds a karmic debt. So I know that in a previous lifetime, I am guilty of having betrayed people. You know, I was not good to people. And so in this lifetime, I have been put in situations where trust has been an issue. Whether sometimes I will attract people who don't trust me for some reason. Even though I've done nothing wrong, even though I've done nothing to betray them, that's me having to pay back that karmic debt. The judgment that I experience, which is so harsh, sometimes, doesn't happen very often, but it has happened, is very painful. But I have to be reminded, suck it up. You know, this comes as a result of you being a badass in a previous lifetime. So, that helps me to justify why bad things are happening to me or difficult times, right? So for me, the 7, I know
we're to God or something. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Hey, there was a delay.
That's okay. No, it is about evolution. Sure. I mean, right. At what point can we stop evolving? I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't answer that. But I do know. I know when I am recognized, or I do recognize when things are, happening in my life that are related to me paying back my karmic debt. That I know for certain. And I'll be straight up, but I am going to clear that thing off.
Just
right?
Boom, right?
So I am not doing this again. Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting because every birthday, for example, a day of birth. So let me look again. Where did I put your dates down?
And while you're looking at that, I just want to say, because I think that's if people fall into line with that, some people are wondering, until what point do I evolve to, I guess, like a magical bliss where I never have to evolve again? I think that seems to be in certain discussions, certain cultures. I know in India, I have Indian friends that are like, well, you know, maybe this is last time. I don't know. Like, sometimes I think people say those things without like they're almost too much in a hurry to skip to the end of something without appreciate what is going on right now. So, and I think what's important about numerology, and what I've learned from you before too, and hope our spirit lifters will learn more about as well, is that you know, to really get the most out of anything you're doing, just you don't have to worry about it until you get to the very end of anything. Just enjoy now as much as you can.
Be in the present. You know, this is, I deal with people every day, and I keep saying, you've got to stay in the present, because when you project in the future, you're projecting into a place that doesn't exist, right? It's never going to exist. We're never going to be in the future. It doesn't happen, right? So when we project in the future, it's because we're worrying about something we don't even know is going to happen, and that produces anxiety. But when we're in the now, we can deal with what's in front of us right now. So I always will say to somebody who's all upset, you know, oh, what happens if I lose my job? Well, do you have a job now? Yes. Okay. Then stay there. You're in that moment. Let's stay there. Okay. Well, what happens if I can't pay my bills? Can you pay your bills right now? Yes. All right. Then stay there. You know, like, don't waste all that energy projecting into the future as to what could happen, or lamenting about the past. You can't do anything about it. You can't change it. That's where depression and regret lives. Who wants to go there, right? Deal with what's right in front of you. And one of the best ways to do that is to accept that everything is divinely ordered, okay? Everything you are going through, every challenging thing that's happening to you is a gift from the universe. Whether you choose to accept it or whether you choose to ignore it is entirely up to you. But the best way to get through it is to show gratitude for the obstacle. Show gratitude for the job you just lost, okay? Because it'll help you to appreciate so much more what that job was, or it'll help you to appreciate the new job, or it'll help you appreciate you never should have been there in the first place. But there's always something to be grateful for. Gratitude is huge.
Very important. Gratitude feels like it's like kind of the binding force that between our physicality and the actual universe's energy, no?
I created an affirmation a few years ago because of my sevenness. Sevens have a tendency to be head cases. We tend to think a lot.
Yeah.
We have a need to control. A lot of us have that. That's the whole thing right now. The whole planet is out of control right now, and nobody likes to feel out of control, right? So what I like to use is my affirmation, and it goes like this. And it starts with, I am just so grateful that you are bringing me the perfect insert here, in the perfect timing for me. So what we're doing, Devin, is we're raising the vibration. When we say, I'm just so grateful, you've raised the vibration on the message. So now we're speaking to spirit, right? Whatever spirit is to you, you're speaking to spirit. I'm so grateful that you're bringing me the perfect, and still trust. In the perfect timing for me is faith. And then walk away. You can't go all law of attraction on it, right?
Yeah.
You can't sit there and go, oh, it's got to look like this and it has to happen like this. No. If you really want to find happiness, you got to learn how to show gratitude for every obstacle, and you have to learn to put it out there to say, I'm grateful for whatever you bring me, because I know it's going to be perfect and it will come in the perfect timing for me. Amen. That's it.
And how often do you do that? And because people get stuck on the methodology of these things, like I got to do it every morning at 5 a.m. and be grateful. Like, is it once a week, once in a while? What do you think?
Well, for me, I do it every morning. I do it every morning and every night. And I'll tell you what I do it for. Recently, I had to go into town to Costco, of all places, the last place on the planet you'd want to go right now, but I had to go. And I put out a message. It's so interesting how it rolled out. I put out the message and said, I'm just so grateful you're finding me the perfect parking spot and the perfect timing for me. Lo and behold, I drive into the parking lot and the place is packed. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go in there, right? But the perfect parking spot is there. I'm like, all right. And I swore I would not go in there if there was a big lineup, right? So I'm walking towards the building. Not a single person in the lineup outside the building, not one, right? I get inside, I do my shopping, and I'm like, this is really strange. There's all these cars, but there's no people. Is this like an altered state of my reality or what? And then I get down to the produce section. That's where they were. They were all there, right?
You're right.
Anyway, I go to check out. Anyway, I went and shopped for a little bit longer. And then when I went to check out, I'm the first person in the lineup. There's no lineups around me, nothing. And I sailed through very effortlessly, put my cart away. I turn back to look at the store. There's got to be 80 to 100 people lined up outside the store.
Wow.
Right? And to me, that was like spirit going, damn straight, that affirmation works.
And is that because I think a lot of people confuse this sometimes, and is that affirmation for you personally very subtle and you let go? It's like a feeling in your heart, or is it in your mind? Because sometimes people confuse the two.
It comes from faith.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from my two words that I started with in January before I ever knew anything was going to happen the way it has, was to trust and surrender. And actually, we have to surrender first before we can trust, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So if you're scared, if you're worried, if you are, mad, if you're whatever you're feeling that's to a negative degree, show gratitude for it. Because when you show gratitude for it, all of a sudden it turns into, oh, okay, I see it. An example of this. When I used to work in the corporate world before I became self-employed, I worked with this guy who didn't like me. He just took an instant dislike to me. We used to get along really well, but when
why? You're not dislikable, Anne. Why?
With that, right? He loves him. But seriously, we got along really well. But when he found out that my partner was his boss, he was a little threatened by that. So anyway. He made my life a very, very difficult place to be. He would send around horrible emails. He would tear down my character. It was just horrible what he put me through. And I'd be in tears every night, like, why is this happening to me? And one day I dusted myself off, got up off my knees and went, you know what, you SOB? I said, you are not, you know what? You are the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because you are making life so difficult for me. And you are lighting up the path for me to get out of here and to do what I'm supposed to do to get me on my path. So when I showed gratitude for him, the door opened, off I went, and here I sit.
Wow.
But the universe put him in front of me to say, no, if we make it warm and cushy and comfortable for you to stay here, you'll stay here. You won't find the courage to jump out of self-employment, right?
Right.
So
challenges are a blessing, well, for lack of a better word, a blessing.
Always.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Always. Yeah. Yeah,
But
always.
we have to be cognizant to recognize that thing too, because otherwise we if we don't know that, then we just resort to depression or a lot of anxiety,
Again, life isn't happening to us. Life is happening through us, right?
Exactly.
I always say to people, now don't get me wrong, I understand that depression can be a chemical imbalance. It can be many things. I get it, right? We've all been there to a certain degree, and many suffer more than others. But whatever you feel is your choice.
It's your choice,
Always your choice. I can't make you mad. I can't make you sad. I can't make you angry. I can't make you anything. You have to choose how you respond to something I've done, right? You always have that choice.
It's our response and our decision to respond to that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so, what a big question on everyone's mind. What in the world is 2020 all about? Let's say in numerology as a year, maybe if there's a way to explain even how the word COVID relates to numerology and where we're going with this. I know those are big questions, but I think a lot of people would be very pleased to have that insight into what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, in January, every January, I put out a YouTube video to discuss what my feelings are for the upcoming year. And at that point in time, I certainly did not see a pandemic coming. But what I did describe for 2020 was, when we look at 2020, 2 plus 0 was 2 plus 0 equals 4. We know that we're looking at a 4 universal year. So what that means is every single one of us on the planet is under the influence of a 4 energy, regardless of what personal year you're in. So for example, you're in a 2 personal year, your wife's in a 9 personal year, but both of you are being showered with this umbrella of 4 energy that's coming from the universe, okay? So the 4 energy says, the 4 is always about focus. The scary thing about the 4 is that it'll cause you to focus really, really well, but most people want to do well. So they get focused on the obstacles that are standing in their way of being able to do well. So for example, the year, universal year of 3 last year would have been a lot more footloose, fancy free, a little bit more carefree and whatnot. And then bam, we go into this 4 universal year, and it's like everybody's uptight and focusing on what they don't like, and focusing that we're in lockdown right now and all those things that are happening. But the 4 is a brilliant year. The 4 energy is extremely timely for us to be going through what we're going through right now, because it asks us to reset. It's asking us to revisit our foundations. It's asking us to review, reconnect, to rebuild. It's asking us to examine our financial situation. Have we been living beyond our means? It's asking us to take a look at the jobs that we're in. Is this going in the right direction? Is this education that I'm spending so much money and time on, is this where I really need to be going? It's asking you to stop, and just sort of sit with it and review and reflect and make better choices, right? So what better way to do that than to stop the planet, And when you think about it, given what we're going through, and when you read about from an environmental perspective, there's a huge hole in the ozone layer that's been there forever, has healed, has completely closed over the Arctic. The dolphins are coming into the canals in Italy. There's just so much good. The smog has lifted off cities where people are looking out the windows going, holy crap, look at that. I never knew we had, that was over there kind of thing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's like they're seeing a whole different world. So the planet is starting to breathe, and we're all starting to stop, and we're starting to appreciate all our friends that we can't see right now. We're starting to appreciate our families more. We're not focused on the petty details anymore so much. We're really, looking at how we're living.
Would you say a reflective year then, in a certain sense?
Yeah,
like an internal reflective sort of year?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did a video on YouTube. I'll send you the link to it later. But it talks about how is 2020 going to affect each particular life path number. And if you don't know what your life path number is, I got a video for that too.
Yeah, right. And Spirit Lifters will link to all of Anne's videos in the description below.
Yeah, no problem. But it might help you to connect some dots there. But
yeah.
So when COVID hit back in March, about 5 or 6 days into it, of course, the curiosity got to me because I believe that there are codes attached to everything, and everything can be cracked, right? And so everything is a message from spirit in some way, shape, or form. So to me, it's a no-brainer. The planet had to stop. We all had to stop being so disconnected. Years ago, I remember my son sitting. This might be slightly digressing a little bit, but I remember my son sitting on the couch waiting for his dad to pick him up, and he had headset on. He was watching TV. The headset was plugged into his Walkman back then. He had his cell phone on one knee. He had the portable phone on his other knee. And I'm yelling at him because I want to talk to him about something, and he can't hear me. And I'm like, damn, you know what? All the things that we have created to keep us connected are the very things that are disconnecting us. You think about it, right? Nobody phones anybody anymore. They text, right? It's creating distance. I don't have to deal with their expression. I don't have to deal really with their emotions or whatever, because all I have to do is text the message. So it's asking us to kind of rethink how we communicate. Lost my train of thought for a second.
And well, while you're finding that, also, like, do you think like through numerology, it's kind of showing us, or hopefully having us wake up to what, in a sense, our new world will look like? And I'm not saying, I don't think realistically everything will change, but is it kind of a reset in a certain way that maybe certain things will start changing after this year in particular, 2020?
Well, I think one of the things that has to change is the way in which we focus. Okay, what we focus on. For example, I mean, it's, this fake news kind of thing. Like, what do we, like, don't spend too much time focusing on the news all the time, because you don't know what's true and what isn't anymore. And, it's pretty bad when they're creating ridiculous news stories around COVID that are just so far removed. Like, what are women doing? How are they styling their hair without hairdressers? Like, what? There's so many bigger things to focus on. So the four, being that energy of focus, asks us to be careful with our focus. Focus on what you want. The number 4 represents 4 posts into the ground. What is your foundation going to look like? Don't focus on what you don't like. You're going to get more of it. Anything we give our energy, attention, and focus to is going to get bigger. The 4 says that. We have to focus on what we want. Think of it as, the angels are up there and they're saying, okay, Devin, so what would you like? And you're like, well, I don't want a 9-to-5 job. And the angels are like, oh, okay, he doesn't want a 9-to-5 job. Well, what else would you like? Well, I don't want to have a job where I have to find a parking spot. Well, oh, okay. Well, what else do you want? Well, I don't want, to have a cubicle. I want, I wouldn't want that. We're so busy telling the universe what we don't want.
Right.
Because we're so focused on what we don't like that we keep getting more of what we don't want. We have to remember that this year of focus, crazy ability to focus, is here for us. It's a gift if you'll use it right. So you got to be careful to say what you want rather than what you don't want. Okay. That's
a very important point. Mm-hmm.
I was told, when people are having trouble with that, put an elastic band around your wrist, and as soon as you start to tell somebody what you don't want, or you're speaking in the negative,
wake up,
Yeah.
Well, and just to conclude this amazing conversation having with you, and again, thank you so much for your time. What's one final thought you could give our spirit lifters as to, really get involved with knowing more about numerology and have it, reinforce what they should know about their life? What's like one final tip in that sense, just to let spirit lifters know the importance of it, I guess?
Well, I believe that we have all written our own soul's contract, but on the day that we chose to be born on, it's like somebody ripped that contract right out of your hand. And quite often the older souls in particular, which can be identified by the numbers in their chart, they feel more anxiety about what they're supposed to be doing because they've lived and died so many times that they're very consciously aware that time is running out.
Mm.
I mean, you could live until you're 95 and you still feel like you didn't have enough time, right? The time is so important and it's so valuable, and we need to honor it and to understand why you're here and what you've chosen to learn. Takes the guesswork out of it. You know, like I love to be able to do a reading for somebody and say, hey, did you know that you're really good in the arts, or that you would be really happy if you did landscape gardening or whatever? You know, I love doing that because all I'm doing is validating what a person already knows to be true, but they just got a little bit lost. It's like the train's off the tracks. I just pick the train, put it back up on the tracks. And it's not just me. I mean, you study any kind of numerology, and that's exactly what you'll do for yourself. Is you will reconnect to what you created for yourself, and there's power in that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what really helped me get me out of the funk that I was in a few years ago. And when I first spoke with you, is that, you know, I was like, I don't know where I'm going with anything. Like, it just felt like just a fog of just, it's hard to describe sometimes, but sometimes, and I'm sure people feel this in their own way, you feel this overwhelming sense of like nothing's connecting. I don't, you know, there must be a better word for what I'm trying to say, but I guess unless you find a way to help at least put some of the dots together, it's hard to get on any track with anything. So that's why when you and I spoke, it was just like, well, oh, this makes sense, that makes sense, and let me try this, let me try to like realign myself, and then like the flow was coming back. That's what it felt like.
Well, absolutely. And if you might remember me saying to you, Devin, you got to be patient this year. Things are not going to roll out like they did last year. But by being patient and understanding that, you know, it's not some huge momentous thing, you found your purpose in this program. Right? You found a way to serve humanity, which is what I think you were feeling a little empty because you weren't serving humanity in a way that served you. Right. And now you found a way to do it. So sure. The beautiful thing about understanding the cycles in numerology is that, you know, people will say, I feel stuck. Okay. I'm like, okay, well, you might feel stuck, but you're not stuck. You can't be stuck. It's impossible to be stuck because the earth is not going to stop rotating because you're having a bad day or a bad life or a bad month, right? It's going to keep on rotating at the same time, which means you're that much closer every single minute of every day. You're that much closer to getting out of that cycle. But the cycles that cause you to feel stuck are asking you to stop and focus on what's important, right? What do you want rather than what you don't?
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ann. This was such a great discussion, and I hope very enlightening for all of you spirit lifters as well. And where can spirit lifters find more information about you, your courses, a reading? Where can they find more information?
All the information they need is at my website. It's www.annperry, it's Ann without an E, annperrynumerologist.com. I also have a YouTube channel that's really active. There's tons of information there. I've got all kinds of information on there to help people out. My courses are on my website. I've got a school. I've got some free courses. I've got a new one out that just came out. It's called Unstuck Yourself with Numerology. So if you're feeling a little bit stuck, you may want to check that one out.
Wow, that sounds great.
On my website. Yeah, it's fun to create.
Perfect.
So,
well, thank you so much, Ann. It was a pleasure again. And spirit lifters, please let us know what you think about this discussion with Ann, and you know, if numerology can play a part in your life, it would be really interesting to know in your comments below. And I wish you an excellent day. Take care.